Good sunny, chilly morning to you. This is Angela with Parkrose Permaculture. Absolutely loving all of the bird song. Not so much the neighbors chainsawing, but my neighborhood is still recovering from our ice and snowstorm, and there are a lot of damaged and downed trees in my neighborhood. I'm trying to stay outside and get yard work done this morning because my third child is recovering from surgery. So I'm trying to stay out here and stay quiet so he can sleep in. I managed to finish pruning my Jude the Obscure rose. If you are familiar with my channel, you will know that I am madly in love with this rose. It's my favorite. And because it is a climbing rose, it does best if you tie the leaders sideways, horizontally, I should say. You will get more blooms that way. So it takes a little bit of work. There's my pile of prunings that I need to deal with still. This ideally should be done in mid to late February, so wasn't running too far behind on it. So I made a video and put it up yesterday, I guess that was. Time is passing really strangely when your kid's in the hospital and your whole schedule is completely turned upside down. Time passes really weird. So I made an error in that video, and I had a brain fart or something. It's actually something that I know better, and I misspoke in the video, and I took the video down because I didn't want incorrect information up. So a couple hundred people got to see that video. I'm sorry there was an error in it, and I have removed it. I think it's really important to have accuracy in my content, and I don't know what I was thinking. I just completely had a brain fart or something. It's not that often that I make errors in my botanical explanations, so I apologize. I'm human just like everybody else. Despite the fact that trolls on social media want to treat me as if I wasn't a human being with a real life and real feelings and real imperfections, and feeling a little sad that I've been getting laid into real hard by trolls in Facebook groups and on my YouTube channel, and which is odd considering I've got 7,000 subscribers, so I can't imagine what the pressures are for folks on social media that on YouTube or other formats that have 10 or 100 times the number of subscribers that I do, what kinds of horrible things they must hear. It must be really difficult. So just encourage you to remember, no matter how small or large a YouTuber is, they're a human being. And hopefully we can embrace the permaculture principle of people care in how we interact, even from behind a keyboard and even with strangers. So anyway, didn't mean to go into that rant. I actually wanted to talk with y'all about annual kales. So everybody, I think, is pretty well aware by now that I'm a huge fan of my perennial kales and collards. But I also grow a ton of different annual kales. So here we can see, somebody asked recently, I have these they're sort of kidney bean shaped, sort of teardrop shaped beds. And obviously in one of them, I'm growing some Scotch kale. And this is my rain garden, and it overflows here and runs down in a series. The paths are actually swales. So they are really deep sunken paths that are filled really thickly, like 12 inches with mulch. So they are swales that hold water for this succession of kidney bean shaped beds. So someone was asking for a look at that. But actually I want to talk about annual kales, because at this time in the winter, what we're getting is if you've been trying to eat out of your garden, and whether you live in a pretty harsh climate or a pretty moderate climate like I have, the one thing that likely might overwinter for you is going to be a kale. Kales are super hardy. This is curly Scotch kale. I find it is especially winter hardy. And it is still green and has leaves in the spring. Now, my two youngest chickens got out the other day and denuded most of these guys here. Obviously, they didn't get this one. They had to jump a little higher, so there's a little bit left. And we have been eating off of these all winter. You can see here, just continue to pick the leaves off all winter. And here sometimes it's mild enough that they actually produce a fair number of big leaves in the winter. And I have a lot more kale elsewhere in the garden in the front yard. This is just a few of the little Scotch kales that I have left. So what do? People notice like, hey, these are still producing. How can I keep these going this year? Well, kales that are annual kales are brassicas, and they're actually not an annual, they're actually biennial. So they do want to overwinter. Now, if it's super harsh where you live, they may die over the winter, or you may need to grow them in a cold frame to keep them going over the winter. But where I live, they overwinter well, and then you'll see they'll put out new green shoots in the spring, and then as the daylight increases and the temperatures rise, you'll find that they bolt. So folks want to know, how can I keep this kale going? Well, the reality is you can't overcome the evolutionary, ingrained life cycle of this plant. It's going to bolt on you. But what you can do is go ahead and let it bolt. So this will put out a spire of these, really cute yellow flowers. I think they're quite decorative. And it will be plastered in bees, and actually hummingbirds will visit the flowers too. And those syrphid flies and some of the beneficial parasitoid wasps also will visit the flowers. So go ahead and let these guys, if you've got room in your garden, let all your kales bolt in the spring. And enjoy these last few leaves. It's an old wives' tale that they get bitter when they bolt. I don't have any problem picking and cooking the remnant leaves that are produced around the flowers. So I go ahead and I let these puppies freely cross-pollinate with kales behind me in my side yard, in my front yard, in my neighbor's yard, all the different varieties, because they're all brassicas. They'll freely cross-pollinate, and actually they will even cross-pollinate with my perennial tree collards. So what I find that I end up with over time is kales that are adapted to my specific garden climate here, my specific requirements. I save the seeds, and the ones that germinate and continue that cycle of life are slowly adapting over the generations. And within 4 or 5 years, you can end up with kales that are really looking different from what you started with, because they contain that genetic diversity. And you can start to select for ones where you like the shape and the hardiness and the flavor and the size, and you can create your own new custom varieties just for your property. I also find this is a great lazy way to garden. I do this with my Swiss chard too. Then I actually don't have to buy seed, so it's a frugal way to garden. And I don't really have to do much planting. In fact, this patch here, these are babies from curly Scotch kale that had been here in the past. And I basically just took the seed pods and I crunched them around and just threw them down. And whatever germinated, this was a bed of beans last year, whatever germinated in this bed, in the midst of the beans, I just let it go. So if you've got those annual kales that have overwintered and you're not sure what to do with them this spring, don't rip them out yet. If you've got a chance to let them flower and produce free seeds for you, and produce seeds that are going to, over time, be specifically adapted to your microclimate, go for it. Please do that. You will be really surprised, probably pleasantly surprised by what you can get. And then you'll also be providing a good source of spring food for those pollinators. So you're helping yourself, saving pennies, creating new tasty leafy greens, and providing that good pollinator food. All right, I am going to head back into the front yard and move some wood chips. Here's another quick shot at these kidney bean / teardrop shaped beds and how the water flows through the swale paths. This way and this way and this way, because I have a lovely downhill slope in my yard and because I have those wood chips 12 inches deep. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be back soon. Thanks.